Welcome to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. And now, here is your host, T. Allen Haynes.
Welcome back to the show. We've got a great guest for you today. We have Michael Barnes, and he's the founder and CEO of Awaken Innovations, Inc. And Awaken Innovations helps nonprofits to save time and money by connecting them with high-quality, vetted service providers. Previously, Michael has been a business coach, a director of lab operations at Assurex Health, a genetic testing laboratory, and built the Cincinnati Biobank and Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Michael's overreaching passion is to help others succeed and fulfill their mission in life. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, thanks a lot, T. Allen.
You're welcome. We're glad to have you today. You got some great gold nuggets for our listeners, so let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about your company and types of clients that you're helping.
Yeah. So I am the founder and CEO of Awakened Innovations, and we help nonprofits to make save time and money. And we do that by connecting them with the service providers that they need. So we are a for-profit company. It's an important thing to throw out there because a lot of people get confused. But we are helping nonprofits, and actually we help the service providers to find clients as well. So we're helping both sides of the equation.
Awesome. So these nonprofits, are they startups, or have they been in business for a while, or?
Yeah, it really depends. We have service providers who are great at helping people decide, in fact, if they should start a nonprofit or not. We've talked a couple of people out of it because it's a lot harder than most people think. And we have some service providers who run million-dollar and multi-million-dollar capital campaigns for long-standing nonprofits and everything in between.
So go into a little bit about how you identified them. You said they were, what was the word you used? I'm sorry, it wasn't vendor, it was...
we call them service providers.
Service providers, yeah. What is a service provider to a nonprofit?
So a service provider is anything that you need to hire somebody else to do. And in fact, it's a lot of the same things a small business would need, but it starts with service providers who can help with financials. So we have people who can help a nonprofit bring in more money, grants and events, people who can help them save money, reducing their utility expenses, and then people who will help them take care of the money once they have it, the CPAs and CFOs. As I like to say, it's the people who help keep you out of jail by making sure that you follow the rules. We also have a lot of operations and marketing people, so people who do websites and social media, as well as helping take care of the physical plant, take care of your computers, your facilities, and help you bring in people, benefits. So it really runs the gamut. Anything that a nonprofit would need that they can't do in-house, we help them find people who will do a good job.
Interesting. So flip the coin, it's like a business that needs those vendors as well. I mean, they need the same thing, but it's under the nonprofit umbrella.
Exactly. And so I was a business coach for a few years, and that's actually where this idea came from. So I was networking, talking to people at networking groups, and saw small businesses struggling and saw nonprofits struggling with the same thing. They had trouble finding good people to help them. And what you're saying is exactly right. A nonprofit is, in fact, a business. And so that's why they're called nonprofit corporations, because they're nonprofit, or because they are companies. And so they have all of the exact same needs that a regular for-profit company would have.
Interesting.
And so I help them find good people.
So, yeah, they need leads. They need how to, what's their missions, what's their, marketing position, all that. So just like a regular business. So interesting.
Right. Yes. They talk about it with very different wording, but in many respects, it comes down to the same point. So, all the steps that a business would do to make a profit, a nonprofit needs to do to help more people. So instead of having cash to hand out at the end, they do more of their mission, but it ends up being the same process. You've got to find people who might want to donate to you. You've got to convince them in some manner to donate to you. And then you've got to make your operations run efficiently so that you don't waste your money. And in the end, if you do all of that, you've got more money to put into your mission.
Excellent. So you mentioned a while ago that you were a previous business coach, but what led you to doing this for nonprofits?
Yeah, I was actually looking to get out of business coaching, looking for what to do next. And I had, as I said, I was networking. I talked to a number of nonprofits and saw that they had the exact same problems that businesses had. In fact, I sat down with a lady one day at a Panera, and for about an hour and a half, she was basically crying about all of her struggles. And, specifically, she hired someone. She's like, I paid him $5,000 up front to make a website, and he stopped talking to me. And when I finally tracked him down, was some high school kid in his mom's basement. There was nothing to go after. And so
wow.
The money's gone. There's no website, and my mission is suffering. And at the same time, I knew dozens or hundreds of service providers who I knew would do a great job. And so, I'm like, well, it's too late for that. But as I thought about it, and, for good or bad, I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of times that's when my brain comes up with solutions.
It's called an entrepreneur brain.
Yeah, exactly. And I had this idea that became Awakened Innovations. So, take the nonprofits who have the need, connect them with high-quality service providers who I know will do a good job, arrange some nonprofit-friendly pricing, and connect the two and, let them go off and save the world.
Excellent. Along the way, was there a particular person that inspired you?
So there have been so many people who have inspired me for different pieces of it. It's the nonprofit founders who tell me these stories of being ripped off. It's the service providers who are great. Some of them can't sell themselves, though, and some of them just want to give back. And then there are all of my entrepreneurial mentors who have helped me through this whole thing. And interestingly, when I launched this company, I sent out an email blast to my database just to make it official, right? And someone who I hadn't talked to for about 2 years got back to me and said, I had that exact idea 5 years ago and never did it. And so I have partnered with Sandy. I call her my nonprofit guru. And she and I are pushing this thing forward together. So I can't choose just one because I'm inspired by new people every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what really drives you and fires your passion to help the people that you're helping?
Yeah. So 2 things. One, just generally, I want to change the world, right? And I want to improve it. It's leave a legacy. And so, I was thinking about it when I was looking for what to do next after coaching. And I figured I could go start a nonprofit or become a nonprofit CEO. And, let's say I help 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. Let's say I do a great job and now I'm helping 2,000. Well, on the other hand, through Awakened Innovations, I can connect 1,000 nonprofits with the people they need, and I can influence 1 million people that way. So that's one thing. And then the other is, as I keep saying, it's all these people in the nonprofits. They're out there doing such phenomenal work. My original interest was anti-human trafficking. So, when I get tired, when I don't want to get up, when I don't want to do stuff, Matt Freeman did a TED Talk called 15 Seconds or Where Were You? It's got a number of different names. Mm-hmm. And in it, he talks about some girl who had been rescued. And the people were talking to her, and, they're like, aren't you mad at the people who trafficked you, whatever. And she's like, no, he was a bad man. Mm-hmm. But who I'm mad at is the rest of you. Where were you when I was going through all that? And so, what keeps me going, in trafficking, there's, 22 million people in slavery today. And then, the homeless and the people on drugs and mm-hmm. all these other people. I just think about what the nonprofits are doing.
Thanks for sharing that with us. What do you find to be the biggest obstacle with these nonprofits? I mean, you talk about some of these nonprofits that got ripped off by vendors or, mm-hmm. service providers, but what is the biggest obstacle that these nonprofits are facing to, find the right people?
So there are a number of reasons. And so one is a lot of them are started by people with more passion than business experience. And so they just don't have experience in it, and it's like everything else. As you practice, you get better. And then there are also service providers out there who deliberately go after nonprofits because they know that they're inexperienced. And, obviously those two factors coming together are just a recipe for disaster. And so, most nonprofits, they go with somebody that their board knows or, mm-hmm. A friend, Aunt June's neighbor's son knows how to do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And, they also don't have a lot of money, so a lot of service providers don't want to work with them. And so finding those who are interested in working with nonprofits who will do a good job is, that's the piece of the puzzle that I'm filling.
So when you say they don't have money, I mean, how do they get these things done?
Yes. And so that was a misspeak. Yes. So they feel that they don't have money. The reality is they have some, and the reality is they're going to spend some. And so I'm not out trying to get them to spend money on things they don't want to buy. I'm just saying, if you're going to pay someone to create a website, if you're going to pay someone to do your Facebook ads, if you're going to pay someone to write grants for you, whatever, let's make sure that person's going to do a good job for you.
What are some of the things you look for to ensure that?
So right now it's been pretty easy. I, for the most part, work with people that I know or are one connection removed. Mm. But we have a process. So someone applies to become a service provider. We check their online reputation. We check previous work that they've done. And we talk to 2 references. So, it's kind of like a job interview. So we go above and beyond. And this is also the gap that we're filling. There are other international groups out there, Upwork or Fiverr, who have really cheap work, but they don't check their people. And so we're checking the people, and we're making sure that they want to work with nonprofits. So that's really the improvement that we bring to the marketplace.
So if I'm a nonprofit CEO and, this goes down, you probably realize this when you're a business coach, I mean, they have the same challenges. Mm-hmm. But what is another means for them to overcome that obstacle? Maybe you can share a case study with us about someone that's you've actually helped.
Actually, the lady that I mentioned who was at the beginning, who was basically crying at the Panera, I actually connected her with my partner, Sandy, and Sandy sat down with her because this lady was saying, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money. Sandy sat down with her, figured out that, in fact, what she really needed was to make better use of her volunteers. So what they did was they started by creating job descriptions for the volunteers. And then as jobs were shifted from the founder to the volunteers, she had time for everything else that needed to be done. And so that was a great success. And we've talked to a lot of other nonprofits and worked with others, and that's the first thing. Every nonprofit comes in and says, I need money. The reality is most nonprofits are not ready for money. They don't know what it takes to get money. They don't know where to go to find the money. And when they go to a foundation, there are certain things a foundation will always want. And most nonprofits aren't tracking their metrics. It's like a business. I mean, it truly is. You've got to show ROI. You've got to show, if foundation gives me $100,000, I'm helping whatever it is, 1,000 people, rather than just saying, I do good stuff with your money. And so helping them understand that and then put the systems and processes in place to capture the data so that they're ready to present it to the foundation is a real key to what we do.
So let's take it from, I'm a nonprofit CEO, and the first thing out of my mouth is I need profit or I need money. How would you respond to
that? Talk to Sandy. But, let's sit down and let's talk about where you are, and, we'll figure out where to go from here. And it's always, let's sit down, let's talk about your mission, let's talk about how long you've been around, and, do you have your numbers? And, if we got you $100,000 today, do you actually have a plan for it? Do you have the accounting systems in place to make sure that the money is used efficiently and effectively? Do you have a way to have your team activate, and maybe you've got to grow? Let's make sure that you're ready to acquire the money, and when and if you get the money, you're going to use it well. So those would be the discussions we'd have.
So do these organizations have, and I speak from experience of speaking to businesses, I hate using that comparison, but do they have money set aside for marketing, or is that just totally...
what's marketing to nonprofit?
Totally a foreign thing to them.
Right. So they would certainly not call it marketing dollars. The reality is most of them don't have much, if anything, set aside for, it is marketing, but getting the word out.
Promoting,
Yeah, and they don't. So that's one of the things that we talk to them about as well.
So the same things have to be in place. They have to have the right message to attract the people that want to contribute to them and influence them. So, those things have to be worked out. So they've got, the people that see the message are wanting to donate to them. So what would you say would be the best piece of advice that you would give someone who's in the nonprofit space that's looking to grow and expand and get the donors that they're looking for?
Because I'm talking to you and you've got some coaching experience and business experience as well, I keep falling back to that. So when I was with Action Coach, we actually coached some nonprofits there as well. And one example was working with a nonprofit. And in fact, all that we did was fix the message, right? When you're getting your word out, you've got some title, if it's online, you've got 3 seconds or something to capture their attention. And you want them to say, hey, that's me, or that's what I care about. After that, if you don't capture their attention, nothing else matters. And so the main thing that I would say is to make sure that you have your vision or, your tagline, whatever it is, have it very strong so that it catches the attention of everybody. So that would be my first thing. And actually, that's what we worked on with, again, this lady that I talked about, changed her message from a generic message to one that was tight and on point. And again, going back to the marketing, you can see it. Okay, that's me. When you see it, as opposed to, we help all animals, we changed it to we help service animals. There's more to it than that. But, with the marketing message, you've got to say that's me. And so that would be my first thing to work on.
Nice. So let's go back to actually establishing a nonprofit. I mean, you're basically asking the IRS not to pay any taxes, is basically what you're doing. So,
right.
I mean, there's so many assumptions about having a nonprofit. So would you advise, the people that have a dream or a vision to start a nonprofit?
Obviously, that's a very generic question. And so certain people in certain causes, probably, but I would be very wary of doing it. Regulatory wise, there are more regulations for nonprofits than for just normal companies. And so, you can start an LLC in Ohio for $99 with your name, address, and a company name. But to become a nonprofit, you basically have to turn in your business and marketing plan, competitive analysis, and then the IRS decides, do we need another one of you in this area? Then you have to have a 3-member board. All decisions go through the board, and lots more. So it's very difficult to run a nonprofit, and most people just don't understand that.
Got it. So if there's a listener that's in the nonprofit business, how can they find out more about how you can help them?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me at my email is michael@awakenedinnovations.com, or go to www.awakenedinnovations.com. Those are the best ways. Awesome.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show, and thank you for the great information on nonprofits.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, T. Allen. It's been great. I appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Well, there you have it for this edition of the show. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show with T. Allen Haynes. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. We will see you next time on the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show.